So today's Daf Samaches, and we're starting Daf Samaches on the top. We're starting the parak of Behema HaMekasha. Behema HaMekasha is, until Mamish till the last Mishnah, is all about the sugya of Ben Pekua. Right? What's Ben Pekua? What is the Taich Ben Pekua? The Ramban says Ben Pekua, even though it's spelled by Chazal with a pei, it comes from the lashon of boikeya. Because it's like a jack in the box. Because you could have all of a sudden you open up the mother and a live animal comes out. So from there came that word, but it doesn't have any halachic ramifications. Just that's the language that's used, but it doesn't have any. Obviously, if it was regular, it still has that same halachas. It doesn't make a difference how it came out. But that's and we're gonna see. It could be alive, it could be dead. It doesn't make a difference. It is a ben pe. It's going to have the halachas of ben pekua. So what are the halachas of ben pekua? We're going to see Be'ez Hashem, and let's show from the pasuk. There's a pasuk over here that says the pasuk says here's the pasuk. The pasuk is in Devarim, and it says like this. V'chol behema mafreses parsa v'shosas shesa shtei process malas gera ba behema. That ba behema is an extra word, and memela oisa teichelu. So we're going to see Be'ez Hashem today that the parsa and process is also extra. But we're going to discuss that later. But here is v'chol behema mafres parsa v'shosas. So we'll see parsa and process that we dash in that as well. But Lamais it says ba behema. So there's two ways we're going to see later on how the drasha goes. Either it's behema ba behema we darshan, behema ba behema we darshan the first v'chol behema ba behema. Either that's how we learn that behema ba behema inside of behema is mutaris, or it's v'chol behema. Yeah, that's the other way to darshan. Yeah, these are the two drashas how to darshan. But bottom line is the drasha is that everything that's in the stomach of the animal is muteris. What's the halacha l'maisa? So 1 second. So the chachamim, and that's how we pass. We pass not like Rameya, that it's regardless of how old, how developed the uber is. Right, regardless if it's mamish nothing or it's even a tisha chadashim, it's all muteris v'chol ba behema. Rameya, we're going to see later on. He argues and he says if it's called chadashim, if it's a fully developed fetus, it is not. V'chol ba behema. So Rameya argues, but we paskin, right? The Chacham say that regardless of how old the animal is, it's all hota b'shchitas imay. Now, midai raisa. Now, obviously, we're talking about b'shchitas imay, right? If the mother dies, then obviously the child is in avela, right? Right. That's pashut, right? If the mother dies, and if the mother dies and the child somehow survives, then the child would be hutta. But you're not going to be hutta b'shchitas imay if the mother was in avela, right? But we're talking about if there was a shchita, right? Now, lahalacha ulamaisa, right? Lahalacha, what happens if you want to eat a live animal? So midai raisa, you could have an animal that's 80 years old. You could have an animal that's 80, right? It's walking around 80 years old, and it's mutter to eat it. Now it's not mutter to eat it alive because you have to kill it. You can't eat it while it's alive, right? And it's a shaila why. And there is a mechudesh dikashita that maybe you need nechira. But midrabanan, you need shchita, right? Midrabanan, you need shchita. So midrabanan, once it's when it's not just yotz me'aver oilam, once it already stood up and it's a machlokes if you need a step or not a step, then you need shchita. You need shchita. So isn't it get right? Altsmar we'll see about a bracha. It's a ganze shtickle Torah, ganze shtickle Torah. If you need a bracha, when we get to that sugya, do you have to? Does that if the shchita needs a bracha, ganze machlek, ganze chilik between certain mitzvahs that you do make a bracha, neimar sayin, and some you don't. The stira, we'll see. But anyway, but But so you need shchita. So where's the negeya b'chalal the sugya of a ben pekua la'alacha? Where's the negeya today? It's negeya for everything else. Why? Because kol ba behema toichelu tells you that it's that first of all there's no trephus, there's no nevelis. So memela you have all those expenses that happen are rooted out. And you can eat the hind legs. Nowadays, in the kosher market, there's no hind quarters. We don't shecht anything halfway through the behemoth. We discard. We're going to see the sugyas later on. Be'ez Hashem. We don't discard it. We sell it to the goyim because we have once we're going to get to the issues of chaylev and you need trebing and the problems of giranasha. We don't want to get involved. So memela, we just cut out the whole thing and we sell it to the guy. So all those hind legs, the choicest meats is the hind legs. That's in the goy shavel. That's the choicest parts, and we don't have it. So here's an eitzah. If you have a ben pekua, it's fine. Be'oifen.
Why is it fine?
Because the halacha is that a ben pekua is muteres kol ba behema toichelu. We're going to see the sugya later on that it's mutter. Everything's mutter. Whatever's in there. No giranasha, no chaylev, no treifer, no nothing. Everything. It's free. We're going to get to this one too. There's going to be two. Now, obviously, if you're gonna have if this child after a couple of years is bred with another regular animal, so its child will not be huta, right? Because its child zev is a goyim. However, right, because it has two parents. But if you take two ben pekuas and you breed them together, then their child is also huta, and this heter works la'ol me'ad. To the point, like what you were saying, I didn't know that Rabbi Hanim was involved in this, but there was a company in Australia that had with Rabbanim and everything, and they had massive investment as well, and they started this whole thing. They had this whole company, and this company was marketed. It was a big tumult. Apparently, that but they felt that if we could create a company of ben pekua company, then you'll have first of all you'll have certain meats that we don't sell, right? All those hind quarters, and you don't have any trephus problems. Here, let me show you the advertisement. 1 second. Here's their ad. I don't know if the website is still up. I don't know if they're still selling it. I thought it was already but I think it's defunct. I thought it's defunct, but anyway, here it is. Ben pekua is the Almighty's gift. Super kosher, naturally kosher, affordable kosher, authentic kosher. Ben pekua provides kosher hindquarters cuts because they tremendous production efficiencies and significant production cost savings, superior standard of kosher, unimpeachable kosher integrity. Ben pekua being naturally kosher is completely kosher. Does not require painstaking removal of prohibited components, right? The sciatic nerve, which is the giranasha, nor the kidney fats, which is chaylev. Laborious times consuming inspection for ritual blemishes. You don't have to check for trephus, at least of the reya. And expensive additional kosher supervising and working staff. And here you have a video of this yid. This is Rav Padua, that he is eating he's eating from this meat.
That's the right question. That's fine.
He eats from this meat. Taka, he eats from it.
London, yeah?
Saying you want to know if he's being semek on the heter of ben pekua. They didn't check. Yeah. Anyway, that is this shmuz. Lamaisa Rav Padua, after he's eating it, there's a tshuva where here's my chaves das. Hoye bazeh ach v'rak lodim b'pulu da'raisa kedarke shal toira v'loy nechnasti klal lodim lachriya binyan l'maisa chas v'shalom l'maisa avada. I was never talking. But what we have to discuss is the most important thing is two moedig alum de shashailas that Achronim discuss, and one of them is mefurish machlekes rishonim. We'll see, and this is the two shailas that are going to go through the sugya. and I think that maybe it could be the Tali Habaha a little bit. Yeah. So the shaila is, let's tell it avec like this. Why? How does this sugya come into here? How does it come to how does Be'em Makasha come here? We're going to have Be'ez Hashem more treifus, the treifus of the Tzumas Hagidim. We're going to have at the end of the parak. How does Be'em Makasha come in? Zokt the Meiri, he says, because we're in the middle of talking about treifus, so now we're going to inform some things that are part of it is a treifa and part of it is not a treifa. So the shaila is it a treifa or not a treifa? That's what the Meiri seems to be saying. And now we have to discuss two Yisoides the Chakiris. One Chakir is like this. When a ben pekuah is hota b'shchitas imoy, is the pshat that we see the shchita of the mother in the vlad, that they're both geschachten, or the var is no. Once a mother is geschachten, so then everything in the child is hota. But it's not the pshat is that we look at it as if a shchita was done in the mother, in the child as well. Yeah, that's one gewaldige shaila, right? And l'chura, Lani is daiti, right? Again, just shitchizdik. We would have to understand because kipshutoi, since ben pekuah is matir every yisr, it's not just matir every shchita. So why should you say that the shchita is being done in the mother? You should say fakir. You should just say that the pshat is that it's hota b'shchita sima, that it's hota b'shchita sima, and everything's hota kol b'behema techelu, right? And not that the pshat is that it's hota b'shchita sima, that it's as if the child is nishchad, because shchita is not matir giranasha, shchita is not matir chelev. Why is all that hota? The teretz is kol b'behema techelu. Stop matter everything, right? And not that the pshat is that we look at it as if a shechita was done in the mother. That would be.
Didn't have to.
Yeah, that would be.
It's not a posh shechita to get in.
Now, and the other you say is the gemachleikas, which is mefurish machleikas rishonim. We're going to have a halacha like this. We're going to have a halacha, and this is going to be our gemara. We're going to have a machleikas Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah, and I'm just being makted before machleikas Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. What happens when the uber sticks its hand out and brings it back in, right? So when it sticks its hand out and it doesn't and keeps its hand out b'shas the shchita, so then that hand is for sure not b'hota. Yeah. What happens if it brings it back in? What happens if it brings it back in? So over there is going to be a machlekes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. That's going to be today's sugya, right? Now the question, why? I was basa b'sad the treifa loisechelu. The basa b'sad the treifa loisechelu tells you that anything that was yotza chutz m'chitzasoi is neser. V'yesh lachkor. What's that iser? Is the pshat is that basa b'sad the treifa loisechelu tells you that it's aser, meaning that the pshat is a new iser of basa b'sad the treifa loisechelu, but avad the shchita happened on this uber because it was already b'mei imoy. Or no. Bas Basad Treifa Leisechelu tells you that there's no shchita on this hand. But Avad this is going to be Alts Eva Menachai. Yeah? You hear the suffix? Again. The hand went in, and the hand came back in. It went out, it came back in, right? Now it's inside B'shas Shchita, and it's Aser Alts Bas Basad Treifa Leisechelu. Is the pshat that I don't have the het of the shchita? Or the word is that I have the heta shchita, but there's a new iser of basa basad treifa leisechelu, and there's a gazillion amount in afkaminis, and there's mafurish shown in both ways. Yeah. The marshal Tosis says you're going to get malchus. Tosis and Marcus says you're going to get malchus on this, and it's not considered lav shebekos basa basad treifa leisechelu because it's all basa basad treifa leisechelu. What do you mean? So Tosis it's an iser of what of bas basad treifa. It's a bas basad treifa. It's not a alumnus that tells you that the shechita didn't happen on the hand, right? Another gewaldige makar is the Rabbah. The Rabbah says that you're going to be that you're going to be like him mishum bas basad treifa leisechem. Yeah, mefurish. On the other hand, there are those that want to bring from Rashi that mefurish that it's going to be a problem of Eva Menachai. And the Achronim say, gewaldige nafkamina la'alocha. There's a machlekes in Achronim. What happens if the mother, was a regular kosher animal, and she was not a treifa, and the shechita happens in the mother, so the child is mutter. You could eat from it, right? What'll be if, let's say, the mother was a treifa, so the shechita was not matter the mother. So now, so obviously the child you could shecht. What'll be? What'll be if, let's say, the child, the uber, had a hand out b'shas the shechita of the mother, and the mother was a treifa. So the shach and the taz, there's no answer for that hand. That hand, basa b'sad the treifa le'sechel. The Bri Chadash argues with the Shach, and the Bri Chadash says that Avada, the Shechita will work on the Uber. Zok de Moshe and all the Achronim. That what's the Machlekes Tolian? Machlekes Tolian the Shaila. If the problem with the yad is a problem that now it's Eva Menachai, that the pshat is that the child doesn't have that once if it's yatsa yadai chutzli imoy, the pshat is that the shechita didn't work on the hand. Good, I'm doing shechita on the whole uber anyway. I'm doing shechita on the rest of the child anyway because the mother shechita didn't work because the mother was a treifa. So the shechita should work on the yad also. However, if the pshat is bas basar the treifa leisechelu is a new isser, if it's a new isser, so it's a isser bas basar the treifa leisechelu kivin sheyatsa kusum chisasai. It's nasar, so now it's nasar. So who cares that I'm doing shechita? But this hand's problem is not a shechita problem. It's not a problem that it's what it's Eva Menachai and it needs a shechita. Its problem is a new issa of Bas Masad Treifa Leisechelu. Bas Masad Treifa Leisechelu, it still has.
If it needs a shechita, you have which shechita?
We did shechita on the mother, but the mother was a treifa. Yeah. So now we're going to do shechita on the child. The Gemara is going to say later on. The Gemara is going to say later on that this child has you could do four shechita on this child in 4 different places. Because it's going to work.
You do the shechita on the child.
Yeah. I'm just isolating this. Yeah. So I'm doing shechita on the child, but it happens to be that when I did shechita on the mother, the child's hand was sticking out. So is the shechita going to work? Is the child's shechita going to work on its hand? Hamachlekes the Pri Chadash and the Shach, and Zog and the Achronim, it's totally in this chakira. Kishmak, klar?
It's taking the shechita.
Yeah, it's having a taking the shechita. So if the chesaron was al tzeva menachai, that I didn't have a shechita, I have a shechita now. If the chesaron was a new isser of bas basad treifa, that's not going to go off no matter how many shechitas you do in the child. Gishmak, klar, gewaltig. Sagt the heilige Mishnah. Let me learn. Sagt der heilige Mishnah, behema mekashalei bohitzi obes yadai v'echziroi. Behema, it started giving birth. V'hoitzi obes yadai v'echziroi. The Gemara is going to make a big deal about this v'echziroi, and it stuck its hand back in. Mutter b'achila. It's mutter b'achila. Yeah, that what happened? That if the hand stuck out and came back in, it's mutter b'achila. So the ikar chiddush of the Tana is for sure that the child is not yet born, and since it's not yet born, so therefore the child is still inside. It's a ben pekua and it's mutter. Hoitzi is roishai. But if let's say it stuck its head out, avol b'shechziroi, even if it tucked back in, harezak yalod, and it's fafalin, and it's not gonna, the shechita of the mother is not gonna work on the child. Yeah, klar, simple. choitech me'uber shebemeyeho mutar ba'achila. The halacha of kol ba'behema teichelu tells you that everything in the mother's womb is going to be huta b'shchita, regardless of if it's attached or not attached. So therefore, if you dissected the child, you dissected the uber inside the mother's stomach, as long as nothing came out, mutar ba'achila, no problem. It doesn't have to be attached, it's fine. But minat cholu minat kloyos. But if, let's say, I cut off a piece of, or cut the whole tchol, which is the spleen, or the kloyos, which is the kidneys, asa b'achila. Why? Because the pshat is, because what? Zaklal, dava shegufa asa. Anything that's the gufa of the animal, so it doesn't have a heter of ben pakua. Ben pakua is only things that are within the animal, not the animal itself. Yeah. So even though a dislodged tchol and a dislodged kidney are very similar to a fetus inside, if you cut it off and you cut it up, it's just something swimming inside, trapped inside the animal, inside the mother, right? So it should be the same halacha. No, that's not called ba behema. That's already called ha behema. That's not ba behema. That's davar shegufa. Choitech, it's a hemshech. Choitech me obeshem, yeah. Choitech me obeshem b'meyel. If he cut off from the let's say a hand or a foot of the fetus, mutar b'achila menatrol. If he was choitech menatrol menakleis, aser be'achila. Yeah, very clear. Now there is a very big problem in this sugya. There's a very, very big problem in this sugya, because why did the Mishnah chap on tchol and kleis? Why did Mishnah chap on that he separated the tchol and the kloyes? Why do we chap on those two? Why don't we say that he separated the chveisvas, the tongue, or something else inside the animal? Why did we chap on the spleen and the kloyes? Right? Why is that? Why are those the two Eivarim that we chapped on? Zok Rashi, and it seems pretty obvious, because there's a distinction about the tchol and kloyes that an animal does not become a treifa even if it's missing it. Right? Since the animal could lose a tchol and lose a kloyes, and it won't be a treifa. Yeah? So memela, that's why we chapped on the tchol and the kloyos. Yeah? Gishmak? So in other words, very gishmak? Yeah? Good? Klar? And the whole problem with the tchol and the kloyos is that they were detached, and the shechita did not happen on the tchol and the kloyos, even though they were trapped inside, but since they were detached, they're not, the shechita is not working on them. But there's no other problem with this animal, because this animal is not a treifa. Why is it not a treifa? Because an animal does not have to have a tchol. We said that an animal does not have to have a tchol and a kloyos. And kloyos, it could be missing. Now the problem, right? We spoke about the spleen and the kidneys, and we said over that study that it could be without a kidney, and the animal has its own system of somehow staying alive, right? We had that. We discussed from Chulin Illuminated. So now the question is, the problem with this Rashi is, and the Churitz Meduik in the Gemara is, that if you remember earlier on, I'm just going to throw it out there because we don't have time to be mamshech, maybe a shtickle yishuv. The problem is that the Gemara had two tzadim. If you remember, we had a suffix in the Gemara. Because the Gemara says lo ishanu ella nital. But if, let's say, it's nechtach or nikev, it's possible. And the Gemara asked the kasha from here. And if you remember, there's a whole shakavatay in Daf-Yomi. And the Gemara had a tzad to say in this Mishnah that the whole animal is going to be a treifa. That the animal is going to be a treifa in the case of nitla tchol v'nitla kloyes. So loit that is going to be a problem. Why the Tana chapta on the tchol and the kloyes? Okay, but that's a side thing. But klar. Okay, so now we're going to do, let me just map out what we're going to do. We're going to have a machlekes. First, we're going to introduce Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, which is the way we paskin, and which is that even that this hand, regardless if it comes back in or stays out, that hand is disqualified. That hand there's no ben peku on that hand. That hand is gone, right? Als bas basad trefa, that hand is disqualified. Now, that's how we're going to go for a minute and a half of Gemara, and then we're going to introduce Rabbi Yochanan who argues, and the Gemara is going to ask frag up Rabbi Yochanan, and we're going to frag up Rabbi Yochanan. But this is Seif Kol Seif. It's a machlekes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yudah Amar Rav and Ula Amar Rabbi Yochanan about this shaila about the hand. Again, if the hand stayed out, so it stayed out. That's pashut. It's not going to be, the shechita is not going to work on it. If the hand came back in and then you did the shechita, so now the question is the shechita matter the hand or not? A machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, and we're going to pass them like Rav. Okay, so tomorrow right there. Come on for Rav that asers, we're going to have to come on to the pasuk of bas basad trefa leisechelu. But then there's still the lumdis to declare what does bas basad trefa leisechelu tell you? Does it tell you that the pshat is that kolba behema doesn't work? Somehow it's like a cutout in kolba behema, or bas basad trefa is a new iser, and that was okay. That this aver is aser. Even the Mishnah spoke about what was the case that the Mishnah spoke about that the hand went out and if the it's kosher. Right? So Rav, the ober is kosher, but the ober, the aver is going to be aser. My time with my crow, bas basad trefa leisechelu, bas basad trefa leisechelu, which means that something that goes out, kimin shiyatza bas chutz lemichitzasei neser. And even though the pasuk is referring to regular yotza by kosher, but it's talking about this also. The mechitza, the confines of this of the mother's womb is what's matter it b'shchita, and this left that thing. It has the iser of bas basad trefa. Tanan, in fact, the Gemara Mishnah Tanan Beheba Mikashal Leiti Obers Yoda Vechzira in Motor Bachila says Motor Bachila My Lava Ever Motor Bachila it's mashma everything. So Gemara Loya Ober. It means the ober that the ober is moter b'achila. That the ober so what's the chiddush like we said in the Mishnah that the ober is not yet born and therefore the shechita on the mother is going to work, right? The shechita on the mother is going to work because since only a hand went out, so the ober is still kosher, right? As opposed to the sefer where it says it's stuck its hand out. Frankly, Mari ober in my area hechziroi. So why did the Mishnah mention that he stuck his hand out? That he pulled his hand back in. We should have said a much bigger chiddush. We should have spoke about where he left the hand out. The hand was out, and still the uber is still kosher. So who I did not forget the leichzirei. So why do we say leichzirei? But I did the kaboy misni seifa. Okay, and now this pshat, the Gemara is going to be ma'irich about we're going to fall off, but I'm just giving you a heads up. We're going to have to come back to this kasha. That why did we discuss hichziroi? Because we have no the Tana should have said a better case where the hand stuck out. We're going to try to say a teretz that ain't echanami, and it's just because of the sefer. That's going to take us to the bottom of the Amid. For I did the kaboy miss the sefer. Hoitzi es roishe avo bishach ziroi hareza kiyalud. What's the second case of the Mishnah? Second case of the Mishnah is that not the hand poked out, the head poked out. And what we say is that if the head once the head pokes out, then it's already kiyalud, and then it's not chuta b'shchita simoy. So since over there we want to say hechziroi, I think about Mr. Hoyse Rosh Ava Bishach Zira Rezek Yolud Taninami Reisha Hechziroi. So in the sefer we want to say hechziroi that once the head goes out, even if it ducks back in, it's still too late, and now it's already kiyolid. So memela, so that's why we said hechziroi in the sefer. So we said hechziroi in the reisha as well. In fact, the Gemara of a sefer Michael Mashmalon, we don't need a chiddush in the sefer either by hechziroi. Why? Because given the yatzer reisha have what Michael, what's the sefer the reisha? What's the chiddush of the sefer? The given the yatzer reisha have leida tanina. We have an alta klal. We know this klal already from other places. That the head is considered gives it as the status of leida. Tanida. We have a Mishnah says like this: Ezeu bechor lenachala ve'ena bechor lekohanim. Where do we have a status where the mother gave birth to a being, whatever, that made the following child a b'chal lenachla, but not a b'chal lekohanim. What's the rule? The rule is like this. The rule is that the requirements to be the firstborn legabe nachla, and the requirements legabe peter rechem for bechor lekoyanim is a different requirement. Why? Because by koyanim it's totally in peter rechem. Meaning that if we already had a head that left the mother's womb, that already opened up the womb, that first child was the Peter Rechem, and the child that comes after that is already not a B'chol Kohanim. Why? Because there was something already left the mother's womb, and the mother's womb was already opened. Fine. Yeah? But that child, so this child that comes after a dead head could still be a B'chol Nachla. Why? Because over there it says Reishis Oinoi, meaning that what? That this is the first one of his, that the father's proud. The father's he's still the apple of his eye, something that he's still the one that he's liba davei all of. His heart is with him, right? Now, a child, even if it's Peter Rechem, even if the head came out, but if the animal was dead, if the fetus was dead and it was never kol lechadash, it was never alive, the father has no major connection to it. And since the father has no connection to it, so the child that comes after it is the first one that's liba davei, and the one after that is going to be the bechor le nachla. So that's what we have. That's what we're saying. Ezeu bechor le nachla ve'enu bechor le kohanim. Where do we have somebody that has the status as bechor le nachla because his older brother, we'll call, was never a viable fetus, and therefore the father is ein li beidava. The father didn't lose any sleep over didn't really have any connection to this to the older brother. But he's not a b'chol kohanim because kosef the older brother was pater rechem. Haba acha nefelim. If he comes after nefelim, meaning that the older child was never kol lechadash, was never a full 7 months, a full 9 months. So since it was nefelim, meaning it was like kol lechadash, it was a primi, so it was never viable. So even if when it stuck its head out alive, but it doesn't make a difference. It was never viable. Right, and therefore since it was never viable, so Mele the father is ainly bedavi. Oy ben tes sheyata roishay mes, but a ben tes sheyata roishay mes. But if it's Yasser Rosh Chai, then that's what's then it's a kiyol, and that would be the bachar. Time so we medayik time is the Rosh Meis. Ha Rosh Chai haba acharav b'chol nachol nami lo yahave. But if let's say the first child, the first fetus poked its head out after being a bentes, and it was alive. Why? Because Vaistos. Because it's a regular birth. And Vaistos was saying that once the head sticks out, even if it tucks back in, it's Havikileda. So talking about like this. And this we have this Gemara in a few places. That you can't compare humans to animals, partially because animatically the anatomy of an animal and a human is different, to the point that by an animal, since it's all exposed as soon as it comes out of the rechem, therefore we're going to recognize later quicker. Mashen came by a woman that it's still very, very closed in even after it leaves the womb, so therefore it's not going to be considered later as quick. That mission is only talking about by a person. Why? And the reason why it had to say by a human, because the chiddush is because bebehema. No, we said both. Ashmina ba'adam v'kamashlam bebehema. The adam behema liyadif, the ain praise the behema, or behema adam liyadif the chashiv parts of panam didei. In other words, there's a svara to say if we would say one, we wouldn't know the other. If it would just say humans, I wouldn't know animals. Why wouldn't I know animals? Because a human has, when it sticks out its head, it's not just eyes and mouth. It's a partzuf. It's a partzuf panam. It's a human face. A human face has a chashivas, and maybe that would give it the shem leida. And the reverse is also true, that by the leida of an animal, since it's all exposed as soon as it comes out, so maybe the leida is considered from an animal and not from a human. So in other words, that what we're saying is that we need a makar for human and an animal. So the Gemara over here of B'chol Nachla, that's our source legabe a human, and our Mishnah will be the source legabe an animal. So the Gemara, that can't be a Eitzah, because we have another Mishnah legabe animals. Nami Tanina Shilya Sheyatza Mixasa is going to be in our Masechta. Shilya Sheyatza Mixasa Asura Ba'achila. Why? Because Kasim and Vlad Be'isha Kachsim and Vlad Be'behema. Which this means, and we'll see it later on, but we'll just say very, very quickly what it means is that if, let's say, the sack goes, if the sack comes out, is born, then you have to be choishish for a leida. Why? Because the head might be in it. Why the head might be in it? And so what if the head is in it? Vice versa. The head is kaleda. Is a mafurish raya that what? That the head is kaleda. So we don't need. So back to square one. So why does our Mishnah say? Why does our Mishnah have to say hechziroi? Side by the hand and side by the head. Right? What are we saying hechziroi? Let's talk about when it stayed poked out. Oh, so now the Gemara reads it. The way we assumed originally that the reason why it says Echzirei is Takadafka, it's the Reisha, Legabe the hand, because if it's not Echzirei, because when it's Echzirei, because we're talking about the chiddush of the hand sheyatza, that the psharas was saying that echzirei and the hand itself is mutter. So seifa atu dereisha. So even though there's no major chiddush in the seifa, but we're doing it atu dereisha. Eliyamid loy dereisha dafka v'loy de seifa dafka. If there's no chiddush in the reisha and the seifa, so why lamalei lemisnaya klal? Why does it say echzirei? Yeah, that's the Gemara. Yeah. So now we're back to square one. So we're back to this kasha. I told you we're going to take a big detour. So tomorrow, look, the oilama ober ukeder Amar Rav Nachman by Yitzchak leNitzcha lemakom chatach hachanami leNitzcha el lemakom chatach. So the truth is, I didn't think about this. We should have see if maybe Sichas Chulin has a picture for this. 1 second, give me a second. The Gemara is being mechadish like this. Even though the hand that went out and came back in, right, is going to be asur. Why? Because it's asur as bas b'sad treifel leisechel. Right? Right? But and everything inside is huta, right? So why did I have to say stuck it back in? Stuck the Gemara. There's the borderline, meaning there's the makom of the wall. There's the space in between what's inside and what's out. Right? Now, there's a lot of lumdus here. Everybody, the Rishonim and the Achronim, muchazach the Rashash, everybody muchazach on what this is, how this works, and also what the lumdus of and from this Rashi, because Rashi is mashma klor, that what comes that the problem of the hand that's outside is that it's not called Babahema, it doesn't have the heter, and it's not an Isser of Basu Basadu Treifa. But bottom line is like this. The word is like this. Kol Babahema says everything that's inside. Basu Basadu Treifa tells you everything that's outside. What happens on the border? Meaning against the wall. What happens against the wall of the mother's womb? Inside is hotel called Babahema. Outside is aser als bas besad treifel isechelu. What is with the meat, with the flesh that of this uber that is at the border? It's not yet neser als bas besad treifel because it never went out. It's not yet in. It's not in because it's not there b'shas shchita because it's not Babahema. What is it? It's in no man's land. And therefore, Zakti Gemara, the nafkamina will be, if she stays stuck out, it won't be Hota, because now Kol Ba Behema. But if she pulls her hand back in, that part, the Makam HaChatach, will be Motor out Ba Behema. I bust Basad the Treifa. No, it never went out yet. It was never bust Basad the Treifa.
It's like attached to what's happening.
What the Rashash says, Zokter Rashash, that the pshat is that Bas Basad the Treifa tells you, Gufa, that it has to be Basad. It has to be, you have to be totally out. You have to be out of the Mechitza completely. It's not enough to be out of the heter. It's not, I have to be out of the Mechitza. I have to be Yotza Chutz L'Mechitza. Sagt Gemara by Toshma Behema Mekash Leilei. Now the Mishnah is going to discuss 4 cases. Like our Mishnah of that's mamish the case of our Mishnah, right? And we'll see what Mota B'Achila, if it's the hand or not the hand, that's going to be Machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. Let's say we did the Shechita before the hand went back in. Asa B'Achila. Simple. Now, what's going to be the halacha if, let's say, Hoitzies Yodai v'Chotchoi v'Achkach Shachat Esimai? Let's say the hand went out and I chopped off the hand before Shechita. I chopped off the hand, so it's a regular shtickle Evim and Achai. Right? V'achkach shachat etzimoi shebechot tamei v'asa, regular Thomas nevela of Evim and Achai. V'shebefnim tar mutter. The inside is tar because it didn't touch the problem. Why should I have a problem? And it's mutter. Shachat etzimoi v'achkach chotechoi. Here's a gewaltige shaila. Here's going to be a machlokes tanoim. If, let's say, he shachat etzimoi, the hand stayed out, and he'll be totally in this machlekes. If he shechted the mother and then afterwards he chopped off the hand, so what's the halacha? Legabe, the basar of the animal. Habasa maga nevela. Zok to Tanakama, Zok to Remeya, that what? That since the hand, the shechita was never mata the hand kipshuta stayed out. So Memela, the hand has Tumas Nevela, right? And the basar, the mother was already geschachten. So since the mother's already geschachten, so it's Mekabel Tuma. So the basar is Maga Nevela. Yeah, Divrei Meir. V'chachamim Maga Treifa Shchuta. So this is already really not negaya for us, but we're going to see later on in Machlokes that the Chacham hold 2 things. First of all, they hold that legabe tumas nevela, somehow the shechita does work on the child, and therefore it's not going to have tumas nevela. And what's this thing called maga treifa shchuta? The Gemara is going to say it's a drabanon legabe mukdash. Okay, but that's not negaya so much. Okay, but let's talk about the ratio. Katani mios ratio. Hoitzi obas yodei v'chzira ve'achakach shochat esi my mota be'achila. Again, mota be'achila. My lava aver. It seems like mota be'achila is the chziroi is on the hand. Frankly, more again akasha. If it's talking about the ober. First, we try to tear it to the ober. That if, let's say, he shechted with the hand out and then he was echziroi, aser b'achila. Via ober, my aser. Why is it aser? And for the Gemara, that the chilik is about the shaila is a mutter and aser is not talking about the ober itself. It's talking about the makom chatach. Good? Weiter. So the Gemara weiter. Eini. V'aki aser avimi mi bei chuzoi. Avimi came mi bei chuzoi. Where's bei chuzoi? Bei chuzoi is already in Bosh Negeh. It's Negeh Poshet current events. Yeah, Bavel, Pompedisa, and Surah is all in Iraq. That's right. But bei chuzoi is already in Iran. It's a mamsh on the tip of the what's called it of the Persian Gulf. It's the Kazakhstan, I think it's called. It's already far away. Anyway, and he brought a shtickle Torah. He brought a shtickle Torah biyadei. What state? Parsa hichzer echol, process hichzer echol. That means like this. Now, we said over from the pasuk. We said over the pasuk says v'chol behema mafreses parsa v'shesah shesah shtei process miles ger b'behema oiso techelu. That was the pasuk that we said. So the pasuk and we darshan b'behema is the drashim called b'behema techelu. But it also says parsa and process. So what is the brayso darshan? Parsa hichzir if it put its hand back a parsa one foot, right? Hichzir echol. Process hichzir echol. What are we trying to say? Mailam hichzir prasa echol prasa. If you machzir one prasa, you could eat that one. Lo hichzir prasa echol uber. If he wasn't machzir the prasa, but upon him you could be machzir the uber, right? What do we need two drushes for? So the Gemara wants to say that what again. So we have it says parsa and process. So what are these two drushes? My love hichzir parsa echol parsa hichzir lo hichzir parsa. I'm sorry. So what does it say? It says parsa hichzir echol. So what's the lashon of parsa hichzir echol? What are we darshaning? Parsa hichzir echol, right? So what does it mean? Parsa hichzir echol. My love, hichzir parsa echol parsa. That's what parsa hichzir echol means, right? Parsa hichzir, if you return the parsa echol, right? Hichzir parsa echol parsa. Said no. Hichzir parsa echol uber. That we're not being mad to the parsa itself. Even though you will machzir the parsa, but the parsa stays neser out what? Out bas basel trevel isachelu. Frekti Gemara, I uber, if parsa hichzir echol means echol uber, my area hichzir afilu hichzir nami. Why does it say parsa hichzir echol? I don't have to eat it at all. I don't have to be machzir. I could stay outside and I'll still have the shechita. Parsa hichzir. It doesn't say the pasuk hichzir, and we said use the Bryce has the lashon of hichzir because to tell you that that's the only way that you'll have the makom chatach will be hutter as well, which is the mahal that we're going to go away. So what's the two psukim for? What my love? Chad le'ever v'chad le'makom chatach. The one pasuk of parsa is coming to tell you that what that the makom chatach itself is hutter, and the other one is telling you that the whole aver is mutter, not like Rav. So the Gemara loy chad the makom chatach. Now this is a big lom this over here because the Gemara is bringing a pasuk for makom chatach. What do I need a pasuk for makom chatach? This is going to be a problem. V'chad lekalut b'mei para. That what? V'alib Reb Shimon. That what? What's the halacha? What's the halacha? Dam Reb Shimon kol b'mei para aser. Hani mi kalut ben para aser. Reb Shimon holds has a halacha that if let's say a para is born and it has it's a cleft foot, and the pshat is that they're connected and it's not split hooves, so it's aser. Hani milech diyatzel avaroilam av meimoy shari. That's the lashon of prosais that even if it's parsa. And it says Rashi says hichzir is lav dafka to tell you that what parsa echol you could eat it once it's been made imoy, and that's what parsa hichzir echol is coming for, and process hichzir is benegeh the halacha of lemakom chatach, and memelu there's no we don't have a raya not like Rav. Let's run through the next Gemara. Ulam Rabbi Yechon ve'ever atzmei mutter. Over Ula disagrees with Rav, and he says that the Aver Atzmo is taka aser. I'm sorry, the Aver Atzmo is mutter. One, if you stick it in, it's mutter. Yeah? If it's out, it's aser. It's not babahema. But if it's in, it's gonna be mutter. Amalei Rabbi Yudelu Rav Shmuel Da'amit Havayu Aver Atzmo aser. How could you argue with Rav Shmuel? Amalei man yoyevlon me'afra de Rav Shmuel u'malinon Einin, who will give me some of the dirt from Rav and Shmuel on top of the caver, and I'll put it in my eyes. That was a way of showing chashivas, and so they bring down in Sifta that from here is the makar that the makar to kiss the ground of a caver. I never heard of such a thing, but apparently people do that. Yeah. Man, you have me after the Rav Shmuel but the Hachi Rav Yechon Hakol Hayu B'Chlal Basa V'Sad Treifel Esechelu Kishapar Lech Hakosav Gabichata Sheyotza Chutz Mechitzasa V'Chazra Aser. When the Torah, by the case of the Yom Hashmini, with the par hasoyer, with the soyer that was Nasser, and over there it says a lotion of Yiyatzah, and over there, so what we're saying is over there is a problem of Yitzia. Chatas who the part that Rachmana avol kol mili kiv the hader shari. Once again, let's finish up the Gemara. Meisvei, bas was the travel is a chelu matam level. If you see them b'meiser sheni ubikurim shaf bi sheyatzu chutz mitzasa v'chazru mutar yachol av zekein. By meiser sheni and bikurim, even if they went out, they can come back in. It's no problem. Now, I would think that over here as well, Talmud leima treifa. It says bas basada treifa leisechelu. My Talmud amarabba ki treifa. Ma treifa kivin shenitrafa shovein loheter av baza. Kivan sheyatsa chutz lebechitzasei shov ein laheta tiyufta deula tiyufta. But here I'm going to leave it over here. But I just want to tell you that there's a lashon Gemara over here which is massive, and we must discuss maybe tomorrow. That the lashon says Rabba says my Talmud Amarabba kitreifa ma treiva kivan shenitrafa shov ein laheta. What do you mean shov ein laheta? It's mashma. This is a big source to the shayla that we went in Elu Treifus of if a Treifus chayza lechsheira or not, and this is okay. This is the lashon of kivin shenitru for shovein lahet.